Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Xoxo, I'm going to read your tarot, and today we are going to be looking at channeled messages from your inner child. So I'm really excited to do this reading. Well, I've already done the reading, but I'm really excited for you guys to see it. We channeled a lot of meaningful messages, and we have 3 different piles today, but I quickly wanted to mention that this video would not be possible without the green Glyphs collection, which James Aries was so kind enough to send me, contingent that I review it. So at the end of this intro, I will be reviewing the collection in full. If you are interested in getting the decks or one of the decks, it will be linked down below, and my review will be right after the intro, and it will be time-stamped. So getting into the actual reading, we have 3 different piles for you to choose from today. Starting with pile 1, we have the first stack of cards and this Opalite Pikachu. And then for pile 2, we have the second stack of cards and this Rhodocrosite heart. And then for pile 3, we have this sleepy Snoopy that I believe is black obsidian, and this third stack of cards. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It is absolutely okay to be drawn to more than one pile. Just do what feels right to you. It is possible that you could have multiple messages in different piles. It's possible you could have messages in all 3. Just do what feels right to you and try not to force yourself to do anything that doesn't feel right. Take what resonates and discard the rest. And once you have picked your pile or piles, I will see you in your reading. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the review. Okay, so in front of me, I have all 4 parts of the Green Glyphs collection. So it is a collection of 4 different deck types: a tarot deck, an oracle deck, okay. The original pronunciation of Lenormand is French, and so it's like Lenormand, but I don't want to say that because I sound les incompetents. So I'm just gonna say Lenormand, like a good-natured American, and you're gonna be okay with it. And there's also a rune deck. So together, they comprise of maybe around 200 cards, and they also flow together really nicely and have a similar art style. So the collection itself, I really love using. I decided to hold off on doing the review until after I filmed this video, just because I wanted to see how they flow together. And what I ended up doing was using one of each card, and I ended up really loving that. I feel like these cards play really well together, and I can just tell that James spent a lot of time and energy into each deck. There's a lot of rich meaning, and one of my favorite things that I've noticed about the deck itself is that all the decks, but especially in the Lenormand deck and in the tarot deck, is that there's just a lot of use of color in really like simple but enriching ways. I find just the way that he uses color and his take on like the tarot cards and the imagery within them, I find to not only be unique but still true to the original meanings. I also just really love how he used more primary colors but still managed to say a lot even with more simple illustrations in certain cards, which other ones are incredibly complex as well. I don't know, I just really like it. Okay, but also one thing that I really love about the oracle deck in general, which is this deck right here, is that he uses a lot of foils, and all of the decks have foils on the sides, which I really love as well. And I just really feel like this is a great mix of tradition and originality, and I feel like if you are looking for a set of different kinds of divination decks, this is an excellent one to check out. I also want to highlight the rune deck because I'm a big rune guy. I have some on my table always, and I do think that it can be challenging to learn and remember the names of runes and understand the meanings behind them if you're an especially visual person. Like with just the symbols, it can be hard to remember what they mean. And I feel like the rune deck in general just has such expressive illustrations of the runes themselves, and I can just tell that a lot of care and time was put into each and every single one of these decks, and I am just so grateful to have had an advanced copy of it. Speaking of that, with the Rune deck, it also comes with Rune dice, but they reached out to me and wanted me to know that there was a manufacturing error with my copy, but it won't be with yours, so don't worry. So the reason why I didn't use the dice in the reading is because I accidentally got 3 of the same dice, but that will be fixed if you do order the Rune deck. But I actually really like the dice, so I'm gonna try to figure out a way to get some of those. I may just have to buy the deck, but overall, I think all 3 decks are great. All 4 decks are great. Selfishly, I do wish the cards were a little bit bigger, but he had a reason for making them the size that they did, and I believe it, even inside of the boxes, they're rich with meaning. Let me show you what it says. The world is infinite and yet incredibly small. It contains everything we know and all we have yet to know. May these cards reveal the universe unfolding around you. May these cards teach you all that must be unlearned in order to move through time with an open heart and a ready mind. So I feel like he was really playing on the world is infinite yet incredibly small. And so I do think that, you know, every single choice that he made with this deck, he did with intention and with a lot of care. And I will say, you can order these separately. So if you're only interested in one deck, you can get that, and they all come with guidebooks. But here's another really cool thing I have to show you, which is if you get all 4 decks, I believe, you get the glossary that comes with it, and it has all of the guidebooks into one, and also little extra bonus stuff. And there is one bonus thing that really touches my heart. If you have been on this channel before, you know how I feel about Mega Deck. Mega Deck is love, Mega Deck is life. We very much enjoy Mega Deck. And there's a way to make your own Mega Deck with these decks, and it's included in the book. And I screamed when I saw this, because I was just like, oh my God, like, yes, we are doing Mega Deck with these decks. And I can't wait to use Mega Deck with these decks. And so one thing that I love is that, you know, if you just want to get the Oracle deck and the Rune deck, you can, or if you want to get all 4 of them, you can. There's really a lot that you can do with this deck. And if you are trying to diversify your cartomancy knowledge or your divination knowledge with cards, this is an excellent way to get the most bang for your buck. And I think that these are really beautiful illustrations. I think James R. Eads in general is a really great creator, and I'm really grateful to have gotten a copy of this deck. And there's really not much that I can say that's negative, because honestly, I love how much time, care, and attention was put into this whole collection, and I think that it will serve those who it's meant to find. And yeah, my only thing is, like, it's so pretty, I wish it was bigger, but you know what? That's my problem. I still think they are fantastic, and if you want to grab a copy, make your own Mega Deck. All of that will be linked below, but I want to give a big thank you to James R. Eads and his team for sending me this deck early, and these decks early, and giving me the opportunity to work with them and to share them with all of you. I think this collection is really fantastic, and if you get a copy yourself, you definitely won't regret it. So I'm gonna head out to the reading now. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. If you are interested in the full collection or just one of the decks or whatever you want, all of that will be linked down below for you to check out. So thank you guys for sticking around, and I will see you in the reading. Hi there, Pile 1. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Opalite Pikachu and this stack of cards, this is going to be your reading on what your inner child wants you to know. So to start, we have the Queen of Cups, we have the Ostrich, we have the Whip, and we have Issa. So I'm going to go ahead and start with your tarot card, which is the Queen of Cups, and I intended for it to represent your current state of being. And I really like this card. I think it's a really beautiful card, because this just goes to show how much time and effort I think you have put in to becoming more emotionally mature and more emotionally stable. I think you put a lot of effort and intention into being kind to others, and also to kind of make sure your inner reactions don't affect those around you negatively. I feel like a lot of people might come to you for guidance, or kind of look at you as an example of a person that they want to emulate, or a level of maturity that they want to emulate. And I feel like with this Queen of Cups being here, it does seem like you have really intense emotions, for better or for worse. And it definitely seems like it has kind of been a journey for you to open up to your emotions in a way that's not destructive, but that may be something that you are still working on. With the Queen of Cups being here, you could have water placements in your chart, which would be Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, though you don't have to. But I can definitely see here that there might be kind of an inner battle between the person that you're becoming in the idealized version of yourself, and then also the person that you are, and the fluctuations in your ability to handle and maintain your emotions, and your ability to make sure that you're not only being fair to yourself with how you deal and process those emotions, but making sure that you're fair to others as well. I feel like one thing that your inner child just wants to start with is the fact that you're already doing so much great progress, and I feel like you should really commend yourself for that. I definitely think that there is an aspect of your inner child that feels very protective over you, whether you realize that or not. And I think that there is a fragmented aspect of you that you may be aware of or may not, where you kind of compartmentalize the traits of yours that you like and that you almost idealize, and you put those on a pedestal, whereas the ones that make you more uncomfortable, or the ones that you're less fond of about yourself, I feel like you almost try to push them away and act like they don't exist. And the biggest thing that your inner child is telling you right now is that you are not meant to place value judgments on your being. The good or the bad, those shouldn't exist. The way that you look at some of your emotions and some of your traits and behaviors as good, and the way you discard others as bad, is really unfair to yourself, because all parts of you matter and are important. And I do feel like one thing that your inner child wants you to know is that it comes out, excuse me, I'm burping. It comes out, speaking of things coming out, it comes out especially when you are feeling defensive or feeling triggered. And I think that when you get in that state, you have a hard time sitting in that energy or feeling those uncomfortable emotions. And rather than being open to what those emotions have to tell you, I feel like you kind of almost get into a fight or flight mode. And it might differ depending on the situation. And it's actually interesting because I've seen people expand upon fight or flight to be fight, flight, or freeze, and we'll get there. But I definitely think that you kind of teeter between fight and flight. And the fact that we have the Whip card here, I definitely feel like when you are in a state of emotional reactivity or feeling really triggered, you immediately go into some sort of action, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when we're not aware of the action that we're taking, or we're taking that action from a place of reactivity, you might find that you take the actions that maybe you wish you wouldn't have, or you end up regretting the action that you took, or you find that the actions that you're taking aren't serving you in the long run. The fact that we have the Whip here, I almost feel like this emotional reactivity, when you okay, let's not say emotional reactivity. When you are in a state of feeling uncomfortable emotions and you're feeling triggered, I feel like there's a group of you that may lash out at the person that did that, or you may lash out at yourself. for even feeling those emotions, which first of all is not okay, and you need to apologize to yourself for harming yourself for being human and having natural emotions. I feel like one thing that you may not be realizing is that when you idealize the more sweet and compassionate aspects of yourself, you're devaluing the parts of yourself that are more fierce and more defensive and protective of you. And defensiveness is not necessarily a useful thing, but protectiveness of yourself is definitely important. And I feel like with this whip card, you might almost just punish yourself for being human, and you might act out in ways that you know in your heart don't align with you, but it's almost like in the attempt to just get the uncomfortable emotions out, you just do the thing that you know will give you that immediate release, or at the very least distract you from what you're experiencing so that you don't have to sit in the uncomfortable emotion. And so what I see here is there's kind of this cycle going on where you nurture and cultivate the aspects of yourself that you deem positive. And anytime you have an experience that brings up the parts of you that feel defensive or powerless or territorial, your brain kind of goes into this mode of, oh no, that's not okay. That's not an okay emotion. I can't feel that. I'm nice, I'm kind, I'm compassionate, I'm good to others. And in that panic, it seems like you take action to kind of relieve that uncomfortable emotion. And then it results in you reflecting on that and saying, for example, the whip card can represent different things like being overly disciplined and trying to suppress those emotions, or it can represent things like argumenting with others, or being at conflict with yourself. You might almost punish yourself, or use things like exercise or movement to an extreme degree to try to get things out. You might almost punish yourself or your body in an attempt to just get things out. And I feel like this energy in this state is leading you further away from yourself rather than actually dealing with the problem. And I feel like it's creating this splintered part of yourself where you fear your own power and you fear the aspects within you that you believe you can't control. And the thing is that you can control these, but it's not in the way that I think you're thinking about controlling them. I feel like you may wish that the aspects of you that are more powerful or more fierce just weren't a part of you in general. And that's not fair to you, and that's not right. Those parts of you are just as valid as the kind, compassionate parts of you. Now, you may find that you are more accepted by others when you are in a more nurturing and compassionate state, and those are lovely qualities to have, but the fiercer aspects of you are there to balance out the compassionate parts of you. Because when we are compassionate and loving without any sense of boundaries around it, that can leave us vulnerable to having our boundaries violated if we're not aware of them. And it can also leave us vulnerable to others who may want to take advantage of that or may want to deplete that from us. And I think that your inner child knows when someone is treating you in a way that isn't right. And I also think that you may reflect on your childhood experiences and reflect on times when maybe you did fight back, or you did lash out, or you did say what's on your mind, and maybe what you said hurt others, or maybe when you lashed out you hurt others, or you hurt yourself, or you were punished or shamed for standing up for yourself. And I think your inner child is saying, you can't ignore this part of us. You can't ignore this part of you, because it's a part of you that's going to come out no matter what. And that when that part of you is channeled in healthy ways, then you can take action from a place of empowerment rather than a place of reactivity. And it's really interesting that Pikachu represents your pile, because obviously Pikachu is, you know, even if you don't watch Pokemon or have played any of the games or anything like that, you know, Pikachu's known for being really cute and really sweet and really cuddly and just so adorable. But Pikachu's also really fierce, you know? He has electrical powers, and water mixed with lightning is kind of a recipe for disaster. But it's also a very powerful tool in the world of Pokemon because, well, I mean, in the natural world, in the 3D world, obviously water and electricity mixing can be very powerful and very dangerous. But, you know, in the Pokemon world, you know, his lightning powers make him a very powerful Pokemon. And so I think kind of what your inner child is trying to get you to explain, or trying to get me to explain to help you understand, is that you're not meant to be afraid of your power. But when you channel your power in destructive ways from a place of emotional discomfort, it can cause more damage to you and more damage to the people around you if you're not channeling that correctly, if you don't have a hold of it. And I think that you may view those emotions as something you can't control or as something that you can't suppress. And the thing is you're not meant to control it or suppress it. What you're truly meant to do with this Issa card is feel it and to find solutions that garner stillness. Because from what I can see here is the biggest key in helping you accept this part of yourself is learning to sit in the discomfort without having to take action around it or place a story around it or place a value judgment on it, because this part of you is going to exist no matter what. If you try to ignore it and suppress it, it's just going to come out in harmful ways that you regret later, whether it's towards yourself, other people, or in general. I feel like this could bring about feelings of embarrassment. It could bring about feelings of, you know, shame and guilt and low self-worth because you feel like you can't be all parts of yourself. And the interesting thing is that this Issa card is literally all about ice and stillness and blockages. And you might be feeling like you're kind of running around in circles right now. And you might be feeling like, why am I not, like, I'm making so much progress. Why do I feel like I'm not complete yet? Or why do I feel like I'm stuck? And your inner child is saying you feel stuck because you're not utilizing all parts of us. Your inner child has a fierceness to it that knows when something isn't right, that knows when something isn't fair, that knows when your boundaries are being violated, and also knows when you're betraying yourself. And so the biggest thing that your inner child needs and that you need is to be able to sit with uncomfortable emotions without shaming yourself, without feeling guilty for them, and without acting. And if you are going to acting in ways that are not what you've done in the past. I feel like the most helpful thing you could do, which actually I'm hearing the queen herself, Ariana Grande, in my head, the song Breathing. I think breathing through uncomfortable emotions could be a game changer for you. Because here's the thing, the more we feel those uncomfortable emotions, the sooner we can kind of filter through that experience so that we can get back to a place of, okay, this is just an emotion. It's not a part of me. It's not my truth, but the emotion is expressing something to me. And whatever the emotion is expressing, that is the ultimate message that your emotions are trying to tell you. Your emotions are not something to suppress or control. Emotions are data, just like anything else. And you will be so much more powerful when you use those emotions as a way to tell you what's going on and tell you what's going on within and how things that trigger these uncomfortable emotions affect you, so that you can kind of sit through it and, you know, first of all, acknowledge and validate what those emotions are saying to you. And then also say, okay, I'm still feeling this uncomfortable emotion. so I'm going to keep sitting until I feel calm enough to make a decision from a place of my compassionate heart. Because here's the thing, you have gained so much maturity, but it's immature to yourself and unfair to yourself to pretend like your negative emotions or your uncomfortable emotions don't exist or aren't a part of you. They're a part of you no matter what, whether you acknowledge them or not. And it seems like when you're not acknowledging them, it kind of allows them to run wild and cause you to act out in ways that you wouldn't normally, that don't align with your heart. That's kind of the point of what I'm trying to say. And so it's interesting that in this Isa card, there's an elephant that's frozen. And so I almost feel like when you're in a state where, oh, just those uncomfortable emotions are coming in, it's gonna be your natural response to fight them or run from them. But Spirit's really saying, now's the time to freeze and breathe through them and not take action until you have come. Well, it's not that you have to come out on the other side of them, but at the very least have come to a place where you can listen to what your heart is telling you, what your most aligned version of yourself is telling you. Because once you take that time to kind of pause and breathe through them, you can get back to your truest self and get back to what your compassionate heart thinks. And that will help you take action from a place that is aligned with the person that you're becoming. And that will help stop this cycle of pushing part of yourself away, upholding the other part, and being stuck in this cycle of trying to suppress parts of your being. That's the imbalance that's going on here. It's like you're pulled in two different directions and you're feeling like only one direction is right and the other is wrong. And there's no such thing as right or wrong. Things just are. And we place value judgments on them because that's a human linear mind thing. And it's not the truth and it's not reality, but it's very much easy for us to uphold the qualities that are accepted by others, the qualities that we deem likable, the qualities that we like about ourselves. And it's very easy to suppress the qualities that maybe other people don't like about us, or we have been shamed or rejected for, that we shame or reject within ourselves. And so I think the biggest aspect of healing here is to recognize that you are kind, you are compassionate, and you are maturing emotionally, but you are still a child at heart. And there's so many more aspects to you than just the kind and sweet and nurturing ones. You also have very powerful qualities that, when channeled properly, can be protective and supportive of your softer aspects. These are meant to be in balance, not at odds with one another. And once you sit with those emotions, rather than trying to defend yourself from them or protect yourself from them or mitigate them in some way, then you can start to ease into them and recognize that these emotions aren't your truth. They're just communicating something to you about what is happening in your outer environment and how that makes your inner self feel. And once you breathe through that and just allow it to be without placing stories on it, the quicker you can cycle through the emotion and come out on the other side with more awareness and wisdom about what this emotion was trying to tell you. And then you can take action from a place that's aligned with your heart, and you can recognize that there is nothing wrong with you. There's just better ways to approach certain aspects of you and better ways to channel the more powerful aspects of you so that they support the person that you're becoming, rather than keeping you stuck in a cycle of feeling like you are falling behind or regressing in progress. And I think the biggest thing with this is learning to be patient with yourself, because the biggest thing the linear mind wants is an immediate solution. And oftentimes that's not how the best healing is going to work, and that's not how the best solution is going to come. Oftentimes the best thing that we can do is just kind of sit with those uncomfortable emotions and breathe through them. Like, just honestly breathing can be one of the most effective ways to just work through those emotions. And when we can get back to a place where we can feel our kind, compassionate self again, we can ask ourselves what the most compassionate response will be towards us and towards the situation. And in that way, you'll feel so much more empowered, because you'll recognize that these parts of you that you were trying to suppress or run from were not things that you were meant to discard or destroy, but they're aspects of you wishing to be expressed in more useful ways so that you can be just a more powerful badass, a kind, compassionate, powerful badass. That is what you are meant to be, and that's what your inner child knows you are. And so your inner child refuses to let go of those fierce parts of you that know that it's not fair for your boundaries to be crossed, that know that it's not right to allow your uncomfortable emotions to be ignored or suppressed, because uncomfortable emotions are there to show us something. And when we suppress and ignore them, we can't become aware of the issues that made them arise in the first place, and we can't come up with meaningful solutions that will support the person that we are becoming. So I hope that made sense. So I'm going to go ahead now and pull some channeled messages from your spiritual team and just see what guidance they want to give you. Could be related or not related at all. Just see what they want you to know. So, pile 1 spiritual team, what messages do you have for... Actually, no, I should be asking what your inner child wants to say to you, because this is an inner child reading. So, all right, we'll take these first. Find a sacred place in your home or anywhere you feel drawn to dedicate this space to finding comfort, safety, and prayer. Make this spot your altar or safe haven when times get tough or as a daily connection. So this is an excellent solution for when you get in those states where you're really upset and frustrated. You know, go find, if you don't have one yet, cultivate a sacred space where it's safe to just be. You know, sometimes we do have to get our emotions out in ways that maybe we don't ideally want to, but it feels good and it feels right in the moment. So for example, ranting can be very healing and helpful, but maybe ranting at the person that caused that emotion could result in you maybe saying things to them that you don't necessarily mean. So writing those feelings down, or almost just ranting to yourself in the safety of your own home or when you're alone and just saying, this is so annoying, this is so frustrating, and getting it out in a way where you're not running from it or punishing yourself for the feelings you're having, that can help you get it out and express it, but not in a way that's going to cause harm to others or yourself. We also have your etheric body is extremely permeable. Be conscious of any darker energies or negative thoughts that can quickly send your vibration downhill. Protect and seal your aura at this time. So one thing I will say as well, if you have trouble being in your body and grounding, that is going to leave you more vulnerable to external energies. So that is one reason why grounding is incredibly important, because when we ground and when we're in our bodies, that is something that is going to help, our bodies help protect us from negative energies sent our way. And for people that are more empathic or, have trouble being grounded and in their bodies, it leaves your energy kind of circling outside of you, and so it's a lot easier for external energies to trigger you, upset you, or put you in a state that's not aligned with your natural being. So one of the best things that you can do for yourself is ground and protect your energy. I will, if I forget, remind me in the comment section, but I will link down below a grounding and protection meditation from my friend Charlotte. You don't have to be a twin to do it, but it's for everyone. So if you know how to ground and protect your energy, do it in a way that feels best for you. But if you don't, I will link that down below because that will be helpful for you. And let's just get one more. What does pile 1's inner child want them to know at this time? Your heart is waiting to step into a state of forgiveness for yourself or of others. You may be holding on to pain, bitterness, or trauma in a way that is stagnating your heart's flow. Forgive and let go of the past. And I think the biggest thing is forgiveness for self, because, you know, you're human and you make mistakes too. And when you idealize and uphold the sweet parts of yourself while fragmenting from the fiercer parts of you that come out when you're trying to protect yourself or trying to run from an uncomfortable feeling, you know, those are still you too. And when you place a value judgment on one aspect of yourself and shove away the other part that you may not like very much or you may not be proud of, you're telling yourself it's not okay to be that way. And you're telling yourself it's not okay to feel those things. And while maybe the ways in which you channel those emotions aren't okay, or aren't okay in the sense that they don't align with your heart or that they cause harm to you or others, that just means you need to find new solutions when it comes to how you deal with and address those emotions. And I think the biggest challenge for people who struggle to be in their bodies is that our bodies hold a lot of dense energy our bodies hold dense energy when we don't know how to release it. And so when we have traumas or difficult experiences or things that take us away from ourselves or that make us feel not safe to be in our bodies hold on to those energies. And it's hard to sit in them because our bodies will communicate to us, hey, we have this thing we need to deal with. Hey, we have this thing that we need to address. And so the thing is that there may not even be anything externally that's upsetting you or bringing about these uncomfortable emotions. It may just be that you're afraid to kind of fully witness your true being, your body included. There's this book, I haven't read it, but it's coming to mind, and I think it's called The Body Keeps Score, and it's about the trauma that our bodies hold on to. So while your mind might be trying to forget it and suppress it, your body's still holding on to it. And so that's going to make it more challenging for you to sit in your body, because your body, once you sit in it, your body's going to be saying, hey, we have these things that we need to address because I'm still holding on to them. And then your brain's saying, no, we don't like that. That's not good. That's your ego saying, no, those parts of myself I don't identify with. Those aren't okay. And so then you suppress them and keep yourself stuck in this loop of trying to run from them. And what you realize is you're running right back into the exact things that your body and your spirit and your heart are trying to show you. And your mind just wants to distract you, just wants to get out of that situation because it thinks that there's something wrong with feeling those emotions and thinks that those emotions or those experiences are something that you should be ashamed of or something that isn't aligned with who you are. And when you let go of the value judgments you have around that and just recognize that you're human and you're allowed to feel the full spectrum of emotions, that's what helps you start to acknowledge them, process them, and release them so that you can come up with solutions more aligned with the person that you're becoming. And it can help you forgive yourself for mistakes that you've made in the past and and behaviors that you've done towards yourself or others that you may not be proud of or that you may carry guilt or shame around. And the thing is that forgiveness is key, especially towards ourselves. You know, if we continue to ruminate on the things that we're not proud of or the aspects or, you know, the things that we've done that we don't feel like aligns with our heart, what we have to recognize is that we're doing the best we can with the knowledge that we have. And if you push away the awareness you could gain from those emotions, then you keep yourself trapped in that cycle of not knowing better, which means you can't do better. And so once you start forgiving yourself and become open to new ways and new solutions of dealing with these uncomfortable emotions, you realize that it's actually safe to sit in those emotions and that they're just telling you something. And when you listen, you can find new solutions and find empowerment in that so that you can take actions from a place of love and from a place of your heart's truth rather than a place of emotional reactivity. So I am going to go ahead and finish this reading off with a message from Mother Mary. I find that the emanations of the Divine Feminine are just really helpful for dealing with inner trauma or inner child stuff. The Divine Feminine comes in many forms. She comes in the form of Mother Mary. She comes in the form of Kali Ma, Kuan Yin, Lady Isis, many, many different ways. So while you may not resonate with Mother Mary or any flavor of the Divine Mother, you can just call on the Divine Mother anyway for healing and peace. But I figured, you know, Mother Mary would be a great... Well, I haven't used this deck in a video before, so I thought this would be a great time to introduce her. So we're just going to pull a message from her to finish things off. So Mother Mary, what message do you have for pile 1? What would you like them to know at this time? What guidance could be useful for them? So we have Our Lady of the Rose Crown. Okay, let's see what that says. Okay. You are my child and a royal divine being. I protect your spiritual deepening now as you descend further into living the divine heart and know all to be love. As the mysteries reveal themselves to you now, divine rapture awaits you. I shall keep you grounded and authentic, productive in the world that needs your light, even as I guide you into ecstatic communion with your holy nature. No matter where we think we are in our spiritual path, there is always somewhere and something deeper to experience. Our Lady of the Rose Crown appears when you are about to enter into another level of spiritual experience. This new level will be appropriate and healing for you, taking you naturally along your spiritual progress. What might be suitable for another is unlikely to be exactly right for you. Our Lady watches over you with all-knowing tenderness and fierce protection. Only what you need will come to you. You've been preparing for this time, quite possibly without realizing it consciously. It can take years of preparation to be ready for the next level of spiritual awakening. In order to be prepared, we might have to be challenged in a relationship that really stretches or breaks our heart. In that situation, we are learning to love more unconditionally, to either let the relationship go or stay with it, depending on what is right for us. We might experience weeks, months, or even years of not really knowing with any certainty if we are on the right path or living the life we are supposed to be living. In that continued crisis, we are learning how to remain present, to remain open, and to learn to trust, even in the absence of clarity. Or perhaps everything in our life seems to be upside down. A loved one is struggling, or our own inability to resolve an issue that has troubled us deeply for some time and is causing us to feel almost unbearable anguish. No matter what the crisis or challenge, the way that we learned to respond and grow through it provided us with the development that we needed to be able to sustain the next level of divine experience. Love is the most powerful force in our universe. It is in everything and reveals itself in unlimited ways. To encounter this love, to be open to it, ready to receive it, and be changed, illuminated, and irradiated by it, it takes tremendous preparation. Spiritual energy and the presence of the Divine Mother is very real and extremely powerful. It is in some ways like the energy of the sun. It can give life, but equally it can be destructive if we do not acknowledge and manage the effect of its power on us, for good or ill. What is loving and uplifting at one phase of our journey will not necessarily be enough to lift us into the next phase of our journey. For this next phase, perhaps we need more challenge or more loving presence to leave behind what we thought we knew and how we thought we needed to live in order to allow more of the divine to live through us into our world. Our Lady of the Rose Crown comes to tell you that you have been in preparation, and now the time is fast approaching or is already upon you, whereby you are opening to more divine realization. This is a sacred and precious gift and is happening in perfect accordance with your own spiritual growth. She asks that you drop preconceived expectations of how this will manifest and simply be present to what is happening within you and your life now. No matter what you may initially think, what you are being shown right now is more of the divine and its mysterious, creative, funny, and unfathomable genius. Whether you can make sense of it or not, your heart and soul will be fed by it. Strengthened and empowered to more fully live your divine light and discover who you truly are, a magnificent royal child of the Divine Mother and the Divine Father. If you've been wondering about your spiritual growth or noticing that you judge others less and are able to hold compassion more easily, this oracle comes as a confirmation that yes, you've gone through a spiritual growth spurt and also more is to come. If you've been feeling as though you have been tested spiritually with a recurring issue, this oracle comes with a guarantee of divine success and congratulations as you are passing your spiritual test and the mother is in celebration with you. Soon you shall feel that and join in her delight. So yeah, I really feel like this is a really wonderful sign that you are growing spiritually. And I think that the awareness of this issue and the integration of it could really help you go to the next level. So I'm going to show you the healing process. And if you would like to screenshot it and do it for yourself, you can do that now. Here is a prayer here as well if you are interested. But can't even see it all the way. Pile 1, I am going to leave this reading here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background while you do something else or supporting me in any other ways, like checking out an extended, subscribing, liking this video, commenting down below, letting me know how it resonates, checking out my merch or my social media. If you want to check out the Green Glyphs collection, that will be linked down below. Thank you very much, James Aries, for letting me get this beautiful deck and allowing me to use it. I think that's all I have. So I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye. Hi there, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Rhodocrosite heart, this is going to be your reading on what your inner child wants you to know. So we have the moon. We have cat in reverse. We have the tower. Now I want to say this is not directly related to the tower card in the tarot, but we'll get there. And finally we have Daggaz. It just makes me want to say Daggaz, but that's not what it is. Okay. I really love this, and oh my gosh, I wish I could, like, I just wish I had pom-poms right now. Like, I'm channeling my inner cheerleader, or I used to be a cheerleader. I feel like I want to root you on so hard right now, Pile 2. Your inner child is coming through in a very, if you've ever seen The Incredibles, Edna Mode type way. The specific energy that I'm feeling is when in the first movie, when she is with Helen, and Helen is kind of breaking down and forgetting, she's overwhelmed and emotional, and Edna says, "You're Elastigirl, pull yourself together." And you know, she gives her this pep talk, like, remember who the hell you are. And if you've never seen that movie, it's about superheroes that can't be super. It becomes illegal to be a superhero, and they have to blend in with the regular civilian world. And I feel like that, if you haven't seen that movie, definitely watch it. It's just a great movie. I literally cried watching it the other day. Even though I used to watch when I was little, when you watch it as an adult, it's like, oh wow. And I definitely feel like with this moon card being here, you're reaching this state where you're at the point of a breakthrough, which is really beautiful. This Daggaz card talks all about it. So what's happening here with the moon card is things are shifting within you. And I think the biggest thing that is shifting is that you're becoming aware that something isn't right. And this tower card kind of illuminates that. In a Lenormand deck, the tower represents things like the workplace, government, hospitals, school, authority, solitude, isolation, loneliness, things like that. And definitely one of the biggest feelings that I'm getting from this tower card is a feeling of rigid structures. And what's interesting is that I don't know too deeply about Lenormand cards. I'm reading this however I want because I can do whatever I want. And all that matters is the message gets out. And, you know, in tarot, the Six of Spades would be the Six of Swords. And I feel like you're just recognizing that the way that you've been conditioned does not align with your heart. But I think that's a very terrifying realization, because now you're at the point where you either continue going about your life in the same way you were before and ignore the parts of you that are awakening, which I think the biggest thing that's awakening is your heart again, or at least your heart. Maybe if your heart's always been turned on, it's becoming too strong to ignore. Rhodocrosite might actually be a stone you want to invest in, but I think that you're really afraid of these realizations. You could be having like a hard awakening, burping so much. You could be having a heart awakening, a spiritual awakening of some kind. And I think that this is really scary for you because, one, not only are you realizing how much the way you have been living is not working for you, but two, I think the idea of changing and the idea of going outside of what has been societally acceptable is scary because you don't know if you could trust it. There's definitely survival fears coming up here. Different examples of what I feel like this could be is for those of you that are that work in a job that doesn't satisfy you. You may be realizing that your job is a big source of stress and a big source of your unhappiness. For those of you that are studying in school, you may be realizing that what you're studying doesn't really fulfill you, and that maybe one, higher learning is maybe not worth your time, or is maybe not something that's supporting you, or the things that you do want to study in a higher learning environment are not what you genuinely want to do, but you're doing out of fear of not having enough. For others of you, this could just be a realization that maybe you're taking the steps to change. Maybe you are wanting to start your own business, or you are in the process of starting your own business, or you already do something that's kind of independent and less mainstream, but you have fears about being supported, fears about knowing if this is the right thing, fears that you will fail, which failure is honestly doesn't exist. I feel like no matter where you are in this process, the first thing that you need to know is that you're going to be okay. And I feel like I'm going to cry right now, but like, you are going to be just fine. And not only that, your heart is bringing you these awakenings not to make you run back in the opposite direction in fear and keep yourself away from what your heart is yearning for. It's showing you that this fear is actually an illusion, and that even though you may be afraid of making the changes that would align with what your heart truly wants, that is going to help you recognize that courage is more powerful than fear. And when you face that fear, you become open to a world of possibilities that you didn't even realize existed. I want to talk about your inner child in specifically because it's coming out in this cat card that's reversed. You know, the cat is often associated with things like the high priestess, intuition. It's incredibly intuitive. And cats are often also very playful and very free and independent. And I feel like maybe one thing that you're struggling with is your linear mind, your logical mind, is having a hard time understanding how it is either going to make the changes needed to support what you're realizing about your, about where you want to go, about what is going to be aligned for you, or you're recognizing that you're not happy with where you're at, and your heart is telling you that, but your mind is trying to come up with solutions of what you should do. And you're kind of stuck running in circles because the solutions that the linear mind is trying to come up with, or the places in which you are looking for these solutions, are not what is actually going to support your growth. So the biggest thing that your inner child is saying remember who the fuck you are. Remember who you were as a child. What did you dream about as a child? What made you happy as a child? And I know that seems a bit silly, but it's not. Actually, our inner child has so much wisdom for us. And when we live from our heart rather than from our mind, miracles happen every single day. And what's really happening is you're fragmenting not fragmenting in a bad way, fragmenting in a good way. So whatever your current situation is right now, this Tower card is showing you that the rigidity that you've been in, that the structures that you've been in are not, needed water, are not supporting you. And you might be almost trying to commit to the things that you have been, so whatever situation you are in, whatever situation is making you unhappy, you might be thinking that there's something wrong with you. So I'll just use the example of maybe you're in medical school, for example. You know, medical school is really intense, and shout out to anyone that is nursing school, honestly, anything in the medical field, like, shout out to you. And you might be thinking that, you know, because this isn't making you happy, that there's something wrong with you, or that because this is not bringing you the fulfillment that you thought it would, that there's something wrong with you, or that you're a failure. And I'm hearing right now the sunken cost fallacy. You know, the idea that when something isn't working for us, that we need to just invest in it harder and do it more because we've already put so much time and energy into it. And I think what is really happening right now, and what your inner child is trying to get you to understand, is that whatever systems that you're currently in that are causing you to become aware of what's not working is not showing you what's wrong with yourself, but in fact, it's showing what's not right for you. Because the fact of the matter is that a lot of the narratives, especially in Western culture, is that, you know, we have to chase after this egoic dream of having this or that, or, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, or that we have to follow this specific path because that's what's most accepted and that's what's right. And the fact of the matter is there is no truly right way of living, but there is the best way of living. And the best way of living is to live from a place. The best way to live is to live in love and to live from a place of love. And most people don't live from a place of love. Most people live from a place of fear. And I'll use myself as an example. Before I did this, I was studying to go to grad school, and I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. And that was something that I wasn't necessarily doing because my heart wanted it. I was doing it because my ego felt like I needed that title or that level of degree in education to be validated and be worth it. And I also thought, well, I got my bachelor's degree in psych. Can't do a whole lot with that. I'm gonna have to go back to school. I'm gonna have to do something. But my heart was drawn to this, and my heart knew that even when my linear mind didn't know it, that there was a better way for me. And slowly I awakened to the realization that, oh my God, I can just do what makes my heart happy, and I can help people in the process. So not only am I fulfilling my own goals, my own life, my own dreams, but I'm helping other people in the process. A win-win outcome. How fucking cool is that? And the thing is that a win-win outcome is a signature calling of divine intervention and the divine supporting us on our path. And the beautiful thing about our hearts is that they are not dissuaded by the stories our linear mind tells us. And one of the biggest things that I have realized, and one of the hardest things to let go of, is the conditioning that we're subjected to in the 3D world, in the material world, about what is right, what is safe and what is true. What I realized when I started living from my heart is that miracles happen every single day, and that the divine always, and not just whether you believe in the divine or not, it's there. And whether you believe in the universe's love for you or not, it's still there. And if you can't listen to your heart, it's going to be really hard for you to make decisions from a place of love, and to make decisions that are aligned with your heart. And one of the hardest things about doing this is facing fears of survival, facing fears of doing things differently, fears of not being accepted, fears of not following the crowd. But the thing is your heart and living from your heart is a superpower. And that is what is going to set you free, so that you can find your own path. I love, like, even this Dagas card has a literal path, a path to light to a life that you are living. And what your inner child is saying right now is, I was designed, you were perfect. Well, I was saying from your inner child's perspective, but I'm talking about you. Your inner child was perfectly designed for the person that you're meant to become. And here's the funny thing, my inner child, perfect for this stuff. In fact, I was talking to a lot of my old friends and things like that, and they talked about how they never used to talk about ghosts or anything like that except with me. I was always very interested in, the occult and things like that, even though I grew up in, the Midwest United States. So I didn't have much resources on that. So my only understanding of spiritual energy was ghosts and things like that. I thought religion was something separate, and obviously, like, conditioning within religion is a huge thing as well. And letting go of that conditioning, and also letting go of my, I guess I should just be upfront, so hopefully this will help you. So I started, I came into this world very spiritual and very connected to my inner worlds and connected to angels and things like that. And a lot of dogma from the religion I was raised in really just didn't sit right with me and really didn't make sense. But because there weren't really many resources for me when I was young about spirituality and the infinite nature of it, I just assumed, because I didn't resonate with the religion that I was being conditioned to understand, that there was something wrong with me, or that God isn't real, and that, or God or spirit, the universe, whatever, spirit's love for us. When I say God, all I mean is love, unconditional love for everything. So then I thought, okay, well, that's not real. I can't rely on that because that didn't serve me or support me. And then I went on the other side of that to another extreme that was very scientific minded, very, if I can't see it, I won't believe it. If I can't observe it, if I can't study it, cite it, it's not real. And that didn't serve me either. It also made me very anxious, very detached from myself, very sad, very depressed. Neither one really worked. They're both kind of extremes. And here's the thing, I'm not dogging those things. If a system works for someone, more power to them. More than anything, all that you deserve is to be able to find what works for you and set yourself free, so that you don't have to apply conditions, rules, and obligations that don't align with yourself. Because so much of the human experience right now is about discerning what is true for us and what isn't. And we have this beautiful opportunity with the internet and, just having access to information and things like that. We have the opportunity to explore different ways that we may not have had 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing is that my process since I've started this path has been literally just deconditioning what I was taught so that I can come back to my truest self. The reason why I was so unhappy was because I was trusting my conditioning over my true self. And one of the most freeing things you can do is rediscover who you are internally, rediscover all parts of you, and recognize that you're a multidimensional being, and that your personality is just a bunch of traits that you've picked up in order to feel safe in your environment. And once you realize that your true power lies within, and when you are able to forge a heart connection with yourself and trust the wisdom that your heart has, it will lead you to a life beyond your imagining, and to a life that you could have never, ever planned or strategized for. It's something beautiful, it's something authentic, and it is something that will bring you more nourishment than following a path that doesn't feel right for you, that makes you miserable, that makes you sad. And the fact of the matter is that it might be really scary to go outside of what you've been taught. And it might be really scary to deal with the reactions of other people and to deal with other people's judgments of you. But other people's judgments of you are not your truth. And the more you step into an energy of love, the more you realize that most people are just operating from a place of their conditioning and operating from a place of fear or trying to control things. And when you live in that place of love, it's so powerful and compelling that it doesn't matter that other people are doing their own thing. You realize they have the right to do that the same way you have the right to take your own path and to choose what feels right for you. Even if you may not know how to do that, when you just listen to the yearnings of your heart, you start to take steps in the right direction, and you start to find those solutions, and you awaken to new ways of being. It's not something that happens instantaneously. I didn't wake up one day and think, oh, I'm gonna be a YouTube tarot reader. It was something that happened over time, and all of my experiences served me. And so one thing that you need to do is not beat yourself up for where you've been, because it's leading you to who you're meant to be and where you are now. It is a scary realization to realize that it may be more fulfilling for you to step out of what you thought you wanted or what feels safe to your ego. But once you overcome those fears, or once you just have the courage to power through despite the fear, you realize that you were meant for whatever was calling to your heart, and you realize that you are only cheating yourself by continuing to force yourself into a box that doesn't serve you. You're a multi-dimensional being. You're not a title, you're not a job, you're not a role, you're not one thing. You are so many different things. And the beautiful thing about our lives and living from a place of living from our heart space, it allows us to let go of the many illusions that our mind has, and it tells our mind, hey, listen, sit down and start listening to our heart space, because our heart space knows better than our mind space does. And the more that you live from that heart space, the more you will realize how much we are just conditioned to be stuck in thought loops and stuck in judgments and stuck in energies that don't resonate with our heart. And the more of us that learn to trust in what our heart's yearnings tell us, and learn to trust that when we when we live from a place of love and serve love, the universe responds in beautiful ways and supports us in beautiful ways. If you're trying to make a transition and you are trying to get out of this place of fear, or get out of this place of feeling like you don't know what is right for you, or you don't know what the solution is, your inner child is saying, listen to me, remember me, come back to me, because I have the answers for you. Your truest nature was cultivated and there from the time you incarnated on this planet. And if you can just go back to those parts of yourself, you will recognize what lit you up. Now, because you are an adult now, ideally, you should be an adult if you're watching this. If you're not, it's okay. This is still good stuff to know. The earlier you get to these truths, the less time you have to spend living a life that isn't aligned with your true being. And that will save you a lot of grief and a lot of suffering. And let me just say this too. Living from a place of your heart space does not mean that suffering does not exist. It just means that you learn how to deal with suffering, and it just means you choose the suffering that comes with the path most aligned with your truest self, rather than suffering on a path that doesn't even serve or fulfill your heart whatsoever. Suffering is a part of life the same way joy is, and we can't have one without the other. But the beautiful thing about the spiritual path is that it shows you how to work through challenging aspects of life. And when you have a deeper meaning attached to your life experiences, it allows you to deal with those challenging aspects and recognize that everything serves, and that we are not bound to the stories that we tell ourselves or bound to the conditions society tries to place on us. The more you learn to trust yourself and the more you allow yourself to embrace your whole being and discover who you are, the more you realize that fear was the only thing keeping you from living from a place of love. And then it becomes a lot easier to listen. It becomes a lot easier to train your mind to listen to your heart, rather than allow your mind to keep you stuck in a loop of fear and keep you stuck in systems isolated from your true being. Your inner child knows exactly what you need, and your inner child can help guide you exactly where you need to go. And the more you follow this path of just trusting the little nudges that your heart gives you, the easier it becomes, because each time you trust your heart a little bit more and more of the path becomes illuminated to you. And you get more confirmation from the universe through, oh, this feels good, through, oh, this feels right. Life is not meant to be just suffering and work. Life is meant to be loved and to be joyful. And so many of us have forgotten that. And the more that you open up to what your heart wants you to know and what your heart needs and what fills your heart up, the less the negativity around you will bother you, the less other people's distortions will bother you. The first thing that happened to me when I found tarot, that was the first time I had a feeling of, I don't care what other people think about this. I love this so much that I will deal with whatever the consequences of me living my truth are. And obviously, it sounds a lot easier said than done. And that's the thing. You can't map this out. You can't plan what is going to happen, and you can't control this. And that's kind of the beautiful thing, is that when you live from your heart and you trust in the universe's plan, because the universe wants the highest good for all beings. The universe wants you to live in joy, to live in love, and to have beautiful experiences. You know, our lives are not just meant to be in pain and in suffering. And while pain and suffering is an aspect of the experience, it's not all of it. And a lot of times our minds create stories about our experiences and create stories about what life is, that when we start to tune in into our heart, we realize those may not necessarily be true, and that those may actually be keeping us in a state of suffering rather than being open to solutions. You know, the mind often gets stuck in loops, gets stuck in patterns, and the heart doesn't operate under those conditions. The heart operates in light and truth, and the heart knows how to heal. The heart knows the right paths for you. And so if you are looking for the answers in your external reality, the thing that you need to know is that you're not going to find answers in your external reality unless there's a deeper meaning behind it. And so if you don't have a deeper meaning for yourself, that's where your heart is guiding you right now. And the thing with the moon card is that you might be feeling like, oh, this is crazy, or I'm just being crazy, or I've lost my mind. Good, lose your mind. It's not helping you at all. Living from a place of pure logic and practicality, while it has its benefits, can also keep you stuck and make you afraid to take risks, make you afraid to take a leap of faith that could lead you to a life so beautiful you just couldn't possibly think of it, because it's something you feel. It's not something that you map out, control, and plan. Oftentimes, the plans that we have for ourselves are much smaller than the plans the universe has for us. The universe knows our power. The universe knows our strength. The universe knows our beauty. And oftentimes, we delude ourselves into thinking we're weak. We delude ourselves into thinking that we're powerless, that we can't change things, that we can't control, we're not supposed to control things, that we can't be happy, that we can't try something different, that we have to do things this way. And your heart says, what if there was a different way? When you're not happy, when you don't have the opportunities to be happy, well, let me say this, when you're not satisfied with the life that you're living, it's a sign you're not living the life that was meant for you. And sometimes, and not sometimes, always, one of the most courageous things you can do is step away from the herd and listen to the heart instead. The herd's not going to lead you anywhere, especially if that herd is following something that doesn't align with your heart. And the one thing that you need to know is that it is possible to operate outside of what society says is acceptable and possible. If it doesn't feel good for you, if it doesn't support you, you're not going to look back 15 years from now, continuing to do the same thing and think, man, I'm really glad I did the practical thing and didn't honor what my heart was saying. You get one life. Well, I do believe in reincarnation, but you get one life at this time, at this place, as this unique you. No matter what you believe in, whether you believe in having one life or multiple lives, you get one chance to be this you. And you deserve to follow it and to follow your intuition. You are so powerful. And the reason why these fears are coming up is because this is what you have to face within your linear mind. Because your linear mind is saying, oh, this is different than what we've been taught. But your heart knows it's okay. And so this splintering is really just you seeing, oh, okay, what the way I'm actually living versus the life I'm meant to live are two different things. And if you haven't lived from your heart, it's a process of learning to do that. It's a process of learning to trust it. And it's okay if you're afraid. I make these videos and I'm still afraid all the time. I still don't trust in things, but I do it anyway. Because I know at the end of the day, the fears that my linear mind tries to bring my way are just that. They're just fears. They're just things trying to keep me safe. But my heart knows that those ego responses that are trying to keep me safe are actually keeping me trapped. And that when I trust my heart and have the courage to follow it, I reap rewards I didn't even know imaginable. And I live a life so much more meaningful and so much more beautiful than I would if I had followed a path that I thought was acceptable or standard. Sometimes, listen, there's that phrase, no risk, no reward. Because here's the thing, even if you fall, even if you mess up, even if you go through highs and lows, wouldn't you rather say that you tried and that you did something different rather than staying stuck in something you know isn't right for you out of fear that you couldn't do better, that you couldn't do something else? That's a hell all its own. And you don't deserve to live in that. Nobody deserves to live in that. But the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of us are living in that hell. And the biggest thing that it takes is an awareness of yourself and trust in yourself and trust in the love that the universe has for you to liberate you from an experience that doesn't serve you. Because when you're living from a place of love, you empower others to do the same. And you empower others to look at life a different way than just the rules that we're conditioned to follow or the ways in which we're supposed to do things. And the universe is saying you are meant for this awakening. You are meant for these truths. And the shadows that you are seeing right now are only because you're starting to integrate more light. And the more you follow the light, the more you'll be aware of what needs healed and what's not working for you. And your inner child is saying, it's time to stop ignoring me. It's time to start listening to the wisdom I have for you. And it's time to trust that now that you're an adult, you're powerful enough and strong enough to honor me. Even if you don't know the way forward, just trust the first steps. We'll figure it out as we go. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not know what the next steps are. But if you spend all your mental energy fearing and worrying about what's going to happen, you're not leaving space for opportunities to come. You're not leaving space for solutions to come. The biggest thing that holds us back is that fear, is that there's no such thing as failure. And truthfully, mistakes are one of the best ways for growth. And I think one of the most heartbreaking things, especially just now that I have this perspective, is the realization of how many people are just living life from a place of fear because they don't think they're worthy of more, they don't think that they can do more, or they don't think that that's possible or that they're deserving of it. And that's just not true. But I can't force people to see that, and you can't force others to see that either. But you can become aware of that truth for yourself. And I am living proof that it is possible. And here's the thing, I'm not saying quit your job and become a tarot reader. That's not going to be the solution for everyone. What works for me is not going to be what works for you. But what I am saying is, when I started listening to what my heart needed, and when I started following the yearnings of my heart that lit my heart up, that's what helped me figure out what works for me. And even then, even when you do take that separate path, you're still going to be plagued with fear. You're still going to be plagued with doubt. You're still going to be plagued with uncertainties. But you find solutions for it. And the more you follow what feels right, the more you realize the universe can and will support you in those endeavors. Because the universe wants every being to be free. The universe wants every being to live from a place of love. And the more people that do live from a place of love, the more power love has to create miracles in the world, the more power love has to treat the world and others with love and kindness, the more power we all have to live from a place of wisdom and from a place of inner truth, so that we're not misguided by the fearful or harmful truths of others. And those truths, oftentimes those truths are illusions. And the more you let go of the illusions your mind has told you about you not being worthy or not being good enough, or that it's not safe, you are safe to try something different. You are safe to stumble and fall. And if you don't know where to start yet, I will give you the place to start. Think about what you enjoyed most as a child and start either doing that again or emulating that experience. And I also want you to be aware of, instead of being attached to outcomes, be attached to cultivating experiences. So, for example, if you want to manifest being a pop star, a lot of people in the music industry that are very successful often talk about how it's not as satisfying or fulfilling, or that they're not as happy as they purport to be. And now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. If that's your dream, that's your dream. But the point of what I'm trying to say about this is that if your dream is to be a pop star, for example, ask yourself the deeper meaning behind that. Is it that you want to be a pop star, or that do you want to cultivate experiences where you feel admired, where you feel accepted, where you're able to share your voice and integrate music, where you're able to express yourself in ways that are seen and admired, that are supported by others? You know what I'm saying? Instead of looking at things as a particular goal, it's almost, when you learn about your ego and your ego's responses, the more you realize what is aligned with your heart and what isn't. And instead of being attached to outcomes or a certain specific goal, you can start by manifesting the experiences that you want to have and just see where it leads you. Because oftentimes the universe knows what we need better than we do ourselves. And it's about learning to trust in those inner nudges, because our heart space is where the universe communicates to us, where our soul, where our higher self communicates to us. And our heart space is what tells us when something is helping or hurting us. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are afraid to live in their heart space because they're afraid of the pain that comes with feeling. But the thing is that if we avoid the pain that comes with feeling, we also avoid the healing that comes from feeling joy, the healing that comes from feeling full and from having meaningful experiences. You know, the phrase, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. I would say the people that are living from a place of fear really truly aren't living, and you can't blame them for being so upset or stuck in negative mindsets or negative patterns. You know, the more you live from a place of love, the easier it is to be compassionate towards the people that may fling negativity your way or may judge you or not understand you, because you realize that they just haven't seen things from your perspective, and you don't have to show them. The more you find satisfaction in the way you're living, the more you realize you don't have to answer to other people. You don't need other people's approval. When you feel good and what you're doing feels good, it's the most powerful validation you could ever experience. And when you live from a place of that, from a place of love, the more you realize the highs and lows are worth it. The mistakes and the growing pains are worth it, because it all brings you closer to yourself, and it makes you far more powerful than any rule or thought pattern that kept you stuck in a structure that wasn't working for you in the first place. So your inner child wants you to know that to not ignore the truths that you're integrating. It's okay to be afraid, but your heart and your subconscious know exactly where you need to go, and they're going to lead you there if you can just be open to it and trust. It's okay if you're afraid. It's okay if you don't know how it's all going to unfold, but just trust that the universe is nudging you in a different direction because it loves you and it wants the best for you, and it wants you to love yourself. And it's a lot easier to love yourself and be compassionate towards yourself when you're living a life aligned with your heart. And so that's what this process is all about. And your inner child is saying, hey, let me take the reins. Let me show you. We were designed for this. We're perfect for this. We're perfect for whatever our heart is yearning for. We may not know the best way to express it or the best way to follow it, but that's why we have to get started. That's why we have to take one step at a time. In the words of our prophet, Jordan Sparks, there's no need to rush. It's like learning to fly or falling in love, okay? You just take it one step at a time, and things will get easier and things will get clearer. And at times, you'll get comfortable and the universe will nudge you again and say, hey, it's time to grow in this way. It's time to change in this way. Really, all you're doing right now is shedding layers that were never truly you, but the conditioning that you were taught in order to be like the rest of them, to be in line and to be small. And you're never meant to be small. Your heart is big, and your heart has a lot of love to express, and you know it. And that's why your heart is saying, okay, now you know it. But knowing is different from being. It's time to be it. And the way to be it is to start taking action aligned from our heart and to integrate the wisdom that we're having. So really what your inner child wants you to know is, I'm not here to make you hate your life more. I'm here to help you wake up and realize that you're not meant to live a life you hate. Even if other people told you that that's what was right, even if you thought that was what's right, you're allowed to be wrong, and you're allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed to try different things, and you're allowed to do things differently. So much of the narratives in society today are about, oh, well, they failed or they're not perfect. And it's like, the majority of society is incredibly dense. And the majority of mainstream media is a lot about cultivating outrage, keeping us stuck in these thought patterns and keeping us stuck and trapped in our minds. And living from our minds is not a place to live from. It's a place that is always going to lead you in an unsatisfying direction. If you want to start living in a satisfying way and love the life you live, you got to start listening to what your heart is telling you. And the first step is being open to it. You might not like what comes forward. You might be afraid of what it tells you. But if you trust and take those leaps of faith, that when it does communicate to you, you'll know when it's right in your heart. And when you trust those, you will be shocked and amazed at the things you will achieve, at the life you'll be living. It'll be so different from what you pictured, but you'll realize and be so glad you didn't live your life from a place of what you thought you wanted, because the universe in your heart knows what you need, and what you need will far outweigh what you thought you wanted. So trust that these epiphanies are coming not to make you afraid, not to make you hide in fear, not to keep you stuck in a situation that makes you unhappy. It's coming in to liberate you from an experience that wasn't serving you anymore. So trust it. Okay, so now I want to get some channeled messages from your inner child and see what your inner child wants you to know. And here's the one thing I will say. Your brain will constantly try to poke holes in the things that I'm saying. It's what it does with tarot readings in general. Well, how do I know this is it? Or how do I know I'm seeing synchronicities? Or it's just confirmation bias. How about confirmation bias is the psychological explanation for the experience of seeing synchronicities? And that synchronicities are a sign that we're on the right path. And that it's about the meaning of the synchronicities to us, not the psychological explanation. Another thing, the placebo effect. People are like, well, how do I know that this is real or it's just the placebo effect? And it's like, this is it's a perfect example of how the mind can be so logical. The placebo effect is real. It shows the power of the mind. Your mind is so powerful. Don't use it to tear yourself down and keep you stuck in illusions that don't serve you, that keep you miserable, that keep you telling stories that just hurt yourself further. Your mind is meant to serve your heart, not the other way around. Anyway, so the point of what I'm trying to say is that your mind is incredibly powerful, and when you use it to help you serve and live from a place of love rather than trying to suppress your inner nature, oh my God, you'll be so much happier. So much happier. But, all right. Ooh, okay. There is a romantic love, whether in your life now or arriving in the future, that is very divine and spiritual. It is meant to flow easily, naturally, and bring happiness and abundance and growth to your life. So for those of you that have been wanting a love connection in your life and have been wondering where it is, your heart's been trying to tell you how to get there. It starts by listening. And if there's someone in your life already that's been awakening you to these truths, whether you're in separation, which that's an illusion, you are always connected to people in your heart. Whether already in your life or arriving, if you follow these inner nudges that your heart is telling you, it will lead you exactly to where you're needing to go. And here's the interesting thing. There's 6 hearts here, and there's 6 swords here. And so Spirit is saying, trying to understand this situation from your linear mind is not going to serve you. And oh my God, the 6 of Cups. The 6 of Cups in tarot is all about children, your inner child. Literally follow your inner child, follow your heart. It will lead you exactly to the experiences you want and the love of your life. Or the loves of your life, or whatever it may be. Your heart knows what you need. And, I think it's really interesting. I think a lot of people that talk about how, like, love isn't real, or that things like that, I feel like people that think love isn't real only think that because they're not tuned into their heart, and they're not living from a place of love. So, of course, they think that love isn't real because it's not real to them. They're not living from that place. And the only way that you can really see it is to live it. I'm also thinking of the movie Aquamarine, where it's a movie about a mermaid and she has to prove to her dad that love exists. But anyway, if you're trying to think of logical ways to move forward, you gotta let go of them and start listening to your inner child. How would your inner child address this situation? And it's not something you think about, it's something that you settle into. And one thing about inner child healing that I notice is that a lot of times experiences will come up, or you'll start to have memories of inner child experiences. They might be uncomfortable, and there might be uncomfortable memories that come up. Don't suppress them. Be open to them, because they're coming up to be healed and released so that it's easier to integrate those parts of yourself again. One of the biggest and most challenging experiences in our childhood is, having experiences where we're shamed or judged for being different, or for acting differently, and there's so much invested in keeping us small and keeping us afraid and keeping us weak. And so if you've been wanting answers about your love life, or if you already know someone in your life that you want to be closer to, start living from a place of love. This is the path. Your inner child will lead you there. Trust your intuition, trust your fears. Well, not trust your fears. Trust and courage over your fears is what I meant. And here's the thing. This connection will either help bring you to this path, or this path will bring you to the connection that you're wanting. What else does pile 2's inner child want to say to them? You are gifted with the power of healing, both on a level of self and of others. Step into the light and work with the energy to benefit yourself and to serve others. The light is within you and also around you. And so that's the thing. For some of you, if you haven't been attuned to Reiki, I would really recommend that. Reiki is an excellent way to heal from a self level, but also you deserve healing. I think that can be one of the biggest things to accept. And the more you heal yourself, the easier it is to help heal others. If you've been stuck in a habit of people pleasing and sacrificing yourself to help others and sacrificing your needs in order to make others around you feel good, that's an illusion of your ego keeping you trapped, because you are kind of projecting your desire to heal on others, in the sense that you don't want others to feel the suffering that you're feeling or have felt. And rather than looking within and dealing with your own, it's much easier to look around you and deal with others, because it's less painful. You know what I mean? It's painful to look at our stuff. It's painful for that stuff to come up. But when we learn how to deal with that pain, when we learn how to recognize that that pain doesn't make us unworthy of love, that pain doesn't mean that we've done something bad or wrong, but that is just an experience of life, and we learn how to heal that in empowering ways, then we recognize that we can handle the pain when it comes, that we can find ways to support ourselves and nurture ourselves when that happens. And not only that, it becomes less intense and we become less afraid of having that experience. And so then it's easier and easier to live from a place of love. And so then when we're already living in our heart, the experiences of joy are 10 times more powerful, 20 times more powerful, and they continue to be that way. Okay, one more message, inner child. What do you want pile 2 to know? Develop a deeper connection with your ancestors and spirit guides by spending time in meditation or talking to them about your needs. They may have been trying to reach you, but you have not responded. Ask for a sign. Yeah, be open to signs and just be open to what is. I definitely think that the answers are within you, and I think the biggest thing that you could be doing that's cheating yourself is trying to look for them outside of you, or trying to come up with a logical solution. There is not a logical solution for what you're looking for, but there is a heart-based solution in love waiting for you to uncover it little by little. And the more you open to it, the more you can trust it, and the more you can realize that your heart was always on your side, and that your heart is not something to distance yourself from or be ashamed of. It's something that will make you so powerful. I think genuine weakness is, we think being vulnerable with our emotions and being open to our emotions makes us weak, but I think it's actually a lot weaker to live a life in fear, because we're afraid of feeling those emotions and we're afraid of experiencing the ups and downs of life. And instead, we suffer unnecessarily and don't even realize that we're keeping ourselves stuck there. Okay, so I am going to finish this message off with a message from Mother Mary. Whether you connect to her or not is fine. All emanations of the Divine Mother, examples are Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Kali Ma, Lady Isis. There's many different ones, and their core self is all divine love in the form of the Divine Mother, and you can access her at any time, but I just chose to use Mother Mary today. Or if there is a form of her that is more comfortable, like one of the ones I mentioned or ones that I didn't mention, feel free to explore those as well. But having a connection to the Divine Mother in some way will help you feel safe enough to create space for everything in all aspects of life. So Mother Mary, what message do you have for pile 2 at this time that they need to hear, please? So we have Our Lady of Ripening on the Vine. Okay, let's see what that says. And actually I'm going to put her over here because I'm going to read from the guidebook, and I don't want to cover it up. I ask you to surrender your future thinking to me. Although your future contains the promise of great blessings, do not let this distract you from the blessing I bestow upon you in this moment. I ask you to open your arms to my blessing in the here and now. You are the sweet fruit, heavy on the vine. The time for harvest has come. This is your time. Many of us who love the Holy Mother are dreamers. We might be practical and hardworking, attending to the details of daily life and spiritual consciousness, but we have hope in our hearts. Yet that hope may be for the future, that of our children, of our planet. This hope is a precious light that is needed in the world, yet our light of hope is also needed in the here and now. We need to be living the divine now, not only dreaming of a more divinely aligned life and a fantasy of our future. The divine wants us to live our light now, to benefit ourselves and the world with our presence now. Yes, we are always growing, yet there is a readiness within you now. This oracle comes to you as confirmation. There is something within you, something of you that is ready. Even if the immediate reality doesn't match a fantasy that you once have held about how life would be when you would finally share more of yourself with the world, you are still ready, and this is your time to shine. It is in this shining forth that the manifestation can happen now, not in the waiting for it to happen before you reach the destination. If you do this, the destination will always be in your future rather than happening now. Your manifestation happens through you as you acknowledge that you are what you are seeking already. It is just bringing it to light that needs to happen now. In this oracle, the Mother asks you to honor the light that is ignited within you now and to act upon it with utter faith. The dreamers are needed in this present moment, you see. We can help the sacred becoming, the healing of the world according to the Divine Mother's grace by how we choose to be at this time. We are not just building spiritual consciousness for a future time. We are building it to live in it now. Now is the time to trust. Now is the time to know that you are her chosen child, her heavenly son or daughter, and that you are divine in flesh. This is your time to be living with complete abandon into your own soul, knowing that the spiritual energy within is now manifesting itself in your physical reality. There is not only blessing in your future, there is blessing for you to succeed in this present moment. This oracle brings you a particular message that you are more ready than you think you are for whatever adventure most concerns your heart or is already right at your feet. Do not shy away. It is time for harvest. Open your arms and gather abundance to you. Trust that your abundance will benefit others too, because the more you have, the more you can choose to share and give. Do not be afraid to receive blessings and to have what your heart desires. The manifesting desires of your heart are the heavenly fruit becoming heavy on the vine and ripening, ready to be enjoyed. Fruit that is not gathered and eaten will rot, feeding the earth to be born again, so nothing is wasted. Yet that fruit could be sweetly savored by those capable of receiving. There is so much waiting for you in this moment. Gather your harvest, accept the goodness, and let gratitude fill your heart. You have worked so hard for this harvest. Let it be rich and bountiful in all ways. Let your divine inheritance come to you now, as naturally as fruit ripening on the vine. This oracle brings a particular message that a dream, project, or idea that you have been nursing will succeed. The time for that success is fast approaching and will happen as naturally as fruit ripening on the vine. Which, thank you, Mother Mary, because that was like basically what I was saying, just in a more eloquent way. So I'm going to show you guys the healing process. If you want to use that for yourself, you can screenshot that. Jeez, I can't believe I did this for 56 minutes. All right. And then there's the back of that if you want to screenshot that. I literally was like, I'm only going to do 3 piles. It's going to be shorter. And then the universe is like, you thought. Anyway, pile 2. That is where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching and for being here. I really hope that this message helped. Thank you so much to everyone who lets my ads play in the background while you do something more joyful to your heart than watching advertisements, because that helps me and that helps you as well. Thank you so much to everyone who supports me in other ways, like getting videos where there's getting an extended on a video with an extended, liking this video, subscribing, commenting down below, and letting me know how it resonates. Seriously, even just liking the video is one of the most helpful things you can do. You can also check out my merch linked below, and you can check out my social media. Though do be aware that I have tons of scammers pretending to be me, and I am not offering personal readings. So beware in the comments, because they're in the comments too. My email is not asotero19. Whoever the fuck that is, it's a scammer, not me. And I will never use the comment section to solicit a private reading from you. I don't do them because I do this, okay? But that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for being here. And thank you so much for opening to your heart and choosing to live from it, because it will bless you further than you can imagine. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Sleepy Snoopy, this is going to be your reading on what your inner child wants you to know. So to start, we have the sun. We have flamingos. We have the snake. And we have Aries. Okay. So, I really like this energy, and I'm kind of laughing because I feel like if I had gotten this message like a week ago, I wouldn't have been able to channel it as well as I could now. So let's just go ahead and start with the sun card here. So if you are drawn to this pile, it is likely that you are experiencing some sort of success in your life, or you are about to reach a point where you are going to be reaching more success, or there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And what's really beautiful about this is I feel like I have to confirm that whether these successes are ones that you have recently attained or earned, or whether they are ones that are in the making right now, I just want you to know that not only are you worthy and deserving of them, but that there is plenty more to come, and that this beautiful, blissful experience of being in the light and experiencing life's abundance and the lighter side of things is not only an amazing and wonderful thing that you should pat yourself on the back for, but it's also something, if you're not here yet, to trust in the fact that rest assured it is coming, and to trust that you are getting there sooner than you think. Now, your inner child is being represented by the flamingos. I don't know if Florida has any significance, but that's just like what it immediately made me think of. But this flamingo card represents balance. And the interesting thing is that this snake card represents kind of what your inner child wants you to know about. And it's interesting too, because in the typical sun card, there usually is a baby riding a horse. And while the sun can represent that childlike joy and just being in the light, being in the sun, being vulnerable, being open, it can also represent pride and ego. And often when we experience success, it can be a really wonderful thing, but our egos can get attached to it, especially when we're an adult. What I'm feeling really called to talk about with you is the fact that it is so important to be careful about how you perceive, well, what your inner child wants you to know is that it is so important to be aware of how you perceive your successes and how effective your methods in attaining those successes are. Especially if you have experienced a lot of success recently and found that it came at the expense of your own well-being, or it led you to a point of burnout, or led you to a point of feeling exhausted and feeling undernourished. The thing that your inner child wants you to remember is that when you were a child, you didn't need to think about what you needed. When you were hungry, you asked for food. When you were tired, you slept, even though sometimes you probably didn't want to go to bed and your parents were probably like, get your butt in bed. When you wanted to play, you played, and things were just more natural. And a lot of that is because you weren't conditioned yet, and your brain wasn't developed enough yet to have this sense of, well, what should I be doing? And should I be productive? Productive wasn't even something in your inner child's vocabulary. You probably couldn't even spell it. And they didn't need to, because when you were a child, things came a lot more naturally to you. And also it left you open to appreciate and experience life without this lens of worthiness and this lens of needing to do certain things or be certain things in order to be worthy, in order to be seen. you saw things much more realistically as a child. And so whether you have recently attained a lot of success or you are on the way, for those of you that have already attained it, this is kind of a wake-up call. And for those of you that are recently attaining it, this is not necessarily a warning, but something to be aware of. Like I said earlier, when we experience successes, our egos can get attached to that because it does make us feel validated. It does make us feel good to do well. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that in of itself can become something that's kind of addictive in the sense that our successes become our new normals. And then we want to push ourselves even further and we want to do more. And that's a wonderful thing, but not when it comes at the expense of your own well-being and at the expense of balance. Because the sun's only up for, well, depending on the time of year and where you live, so many hours. The moon's got to come out, point of that being. And darkness is something that goes hand in hand with light. And one of the biggest dangers here is that because of how great it can be to feel good about ourselves and feel good about our successes and things like that, and embracing our joys, we can become afraid of nighttime, of darkness, and of taking a rest. And we see this a lot, especially within Western culture, where there's, I don't even want to speak from culture. It's just the hustle culture, hustle culture. Let's talk about that. That is definitely not a very helpful way of being because it pursues success at the expense of all else. And that is just not a healthy way of being. And it's not nourishing to your inner child. And one thing that I've been talking about in all the piles is that our inner children have so much wisdom for us. And it's kind of a funny thing where children can say like some of the most wise things and then in the next second it'd be like sticking a crayon up their nose. And it's just like, it's an interesting disparity. But you know, our inner children do have a lot of wisdom for us. And I think one of the biggest things that we become afraid of as we become adults is that we're conditioned to be productive and to be constantly working. And that's not a healthy way of being. There's actually, you know, play is actually a really intelligent form of creativity and also of rest. And I feel like if you are achieving success right now and you're afraid of losing it, the first thing that you need to know is that you won't. Success is, you've already earned it. And whatever comes after will be reaped by what you sow. But also I feel like you may be putting a lot of pressure on yourself to constantly be achieving, to constantly be in this energy of radiance when even the sun needs time to go down. You know what I mean? Well, at least on the planet, because it's changing. And I'm not a scientist. I am a tarot lady. But anyway, like even tarot ladies need breaks. One example of this I will say is this is something that I've been learning for myself too, where sometimes it's very easy to get caught up in obligations and things like that and neglect our sense of self-worth. If you want to see what I'm talking about, you can go to my community tab. I recently posted something about taking time for me and taking time for rest and my needs. And it's really ironic that not ironic, but just really fitting that you guys chose this sleepy Snoopy, because I feel like one of the things your inner child wants you to know is that you may need time for rest or time to just play and do things that have nothing to do with your job or whatever you're working towards, whether you're in school, whether you're a stay-at-home parent, whatever it is that you do with your time and energy that is more so towards productivity, responsibilities, obligations, things like that. While you may be reaping a lot of rewards from that, it's important to not get attached to that because it's not your only identity and it's not all of what you are. And putting all of your effort and energy into maintaining one state is unrealistic and it's unbalanced. And the thing that you need to remember here is that you know how to be balanced. You don't need to think about it. It's more so about analysis of what's going on within and what are you neglecting in the pursuit of staying in this energy. Because truthfully, there's a lot of small things in life that can bring us a lot of joy that we might miss out on the ruthless pursuit of certain goals. For example, one that I've discovered I really enjoy is going to a park near my place and just watching the ducks. I just think it's so fun, and it just brings me joy to see ducks being ducks. I don't give no ducks about human stuff, and I don't know, it's just sometimes when we let go of what's consuming our thoughts and just be for a little bit, even that alone can be nourishing. Just giving ourselves permission to take in what's around us and take in things from our senses, you know, especially when we're on social media a lot or watching TV a lot. Like when we're tapped into screens and our attention is elsewhere, we can often miss some of the most beautiful and nourishing things that are right in front of us, like the blanket that keeps you warm and the cup of coffee that you're having, or if you have children, the laughter of them when they're playing and just having fun. And if you do have children, or if you are around children, you know, just, it's funny because I'm saying study them, but look at the wisdom that they have. And you know, oftentimes we say as adults, like, oh, it's just because they're not burdened by the world yet. And the thing is that we don't have to take on the world's burdens all the time. You know, we all play our part as humans on this planet, and you play a role too. But one thing that you do need to know is that it's very important to give yourself permission to just, I don't want to say regress, but to just revert to that inner nature of yours that is childlike and free. And honestly, it is very hard to let go of the anxieties and the worries and the fears that we can have about our survival and our needs being met and things being taken care of. And sometimes we might have this worry that if we let go of something, or that if we're not constantly focused on something, that we'll lose it or it'll be gone. But actually what Spirit is saying with this AWAS card is that having faith in your process and loyalty to all parts of you, not just the parts of yourself that reap societal success or reap monetary success or bring you recognition in some way. Having loyalty to all parts of yourself, and not just the parts of yourself that bring you some of your needs, could actually help you gain success easier. And if you're someone who experiences burnout or is just in general exhausted, this is your inner child saying, I need you to wake up and realize that we can't just be at 100% all the time, because we burn out much faster. And actually what's really interesting is, because like I was saying on the sun card, in the Rider-Waite sun card, there's a naked baby riding a horse. And I think it's very symbolic that the horse is here, because this AWAS card talks about swift movement. And I think that when you are connected to that inner child part of yourself, and you nourish those parts of yourself that you may be neglecting in the pursuit of certain goals, you may realize that you reach those goals much faster when you take a break to just smell the flowers, or go on a walk, or spend time with a cherished friend. This Flamingos card also talks about collaboration. So if you are taking all of these challenges or burdens onto yourself, you might want to think about what you could potentially offload or ask for help from, so that you have more time and energy to focus on what matters to you, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes we don't realize how we may let our pride get in the way of asking for help. And I feel like whatever sort of help you need, or even if you just need to vent to someone, I feel like your inner child is saying, you know, it's unnecessary to think, well, it's not just unnecessary, but unrealistic to think that you can do everything alone by yourself. And you might actually be making things harder for yourself than is necessary. And I feel like one thing that your inner child is trying to get you to recognize is that the sun is not necessarily all about those big successes and those big joys. You might find actually that when you reach certain milestones that you thought that you would be really happy about, you find that you're still the same person you were before you reached the goal. And that's because You are. And so your inner child is trying to get you to remember that the things that truly bring us joy and truly nourish us aren't necessarily what our ego perceives them to be. And if we get caught up in the rat race or in the idea that our satisfaction lies in the future and not in the present, we'll miss out on not only opportunities to nourish ourselves, but opportunities to remember what's truly important and what really matters. How many public figures recently have we seen talking about them losing focus of what's important? No shade, but I think certain things are coming to light where, in a lot of ways, especially with Mars retrograde coming up, I feel like our actions are going to be highlighted into areas of like what's working and what's not. And I think your inner child is asking you to remember that you're not a workhorse. You are not one thing. You are a multi-dimensional human being. And now that you're an adult, which I read for adults, so if you are not an adult, take heed of that. But you're not meant to let go of parts of who you are in pursuit of the only part of you that you deem successful or that you deem will bring you success. Because oftentimes, the more balanced we are, the easier it is to move forward. And I think that if you've been feeling stuck or stagnant or feeling blocked, or if you've been afraid to let go of certain things, like maybe you're wanting to change your job, or maybe you are working really hard in your job to the point of neglecting your own physical, mental, emotional health. You know, your health is so important. Your health is, first of all, honestly, the most important thing in general. Like, you can't do anything else without your health. And if you neglect that, especially your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, you will, that's a form of self-abuse, you know what I mean? And so I feel like, you know, the cool thing is that this card talks about the snake head. Whatever it's pointing at brings danger to whatever it's pointing at. So in this case, it's pointing at the flamingos. And so I feel like your inner child is coming through to say that it's in danger right now of being neglected, or that you're in danger by not paying attention to it, because you may miss out on what's important already in your life, what already brings you nourishment and satisfaction. Because even that nourishment and satisfaction can help us realize that everything comes in time. And Spirit's kind of bringing me to another trend. If you watch YouTube videos, you might see this a lot, but I notice a lot of videos that talk about the rise and fall of creators. And there's nothing wrong with, like, I'm not like bashing them or anything like that, but it's definitely an analysis of one aspect of a human being. And when our egos get attached to a certain identity that does bring us success, or an identity that does make us feel powerful or important, we can really lose sight of what is truly important to us and what brings our heart and our inner child and the things that are most meaningful to us, if that makes sense. And I feel like one of the biggest things your inner child wants you to know is not to worry so much. And that, in fact, one of the biggest things you could do to start nourishing yourself is to find ways to let go of those worries and pay attention to when they're happening and when they're running loose in your head, because they are what's keeping you away from parts of yourself, like your inner child. Remember, your inner child didn't worry about those things. You know, obviously when we're children, our brains are not developed enough, and listen, childhood is important, and we don't have to let go of it in adulthood. And the belief that we do is an illusion. And in fact, the more we allow ourselves to take time to just do things that we enjoy and just play, the more free, first of all, the easier it is to nourish ourselves and move forward and know when the right time to act towards our obligations, our responsibility. Okay. My channeling's getting all messed up. When we take time for ourselves and balance ourselves, it is much easier to make progress, because we are not pushing ourselves so hard. And then, you know, working doesn't feel as draining or as like grueling when we have that kind of safety net of fun and play to fall back on, so that we can come back to our work more refreshed, and we have something to we always have something to look forward to besides milestones and checkpoints of our perceived success, if that makes sense. You know, success in of itself is really based on perception anyway. If you consider a successful day just getting out of bed, then you're already successful. But if you consider success to be when you have XYZ amount of dollars, well then you're going to live a long time thinking you're unsuccessful until you reach that milestone, and then you might realize you missed out on a lot of time and opportunities to enjoy the present, because you're going to get there and then you're going to be like, oh wait, I'm still the same person. And so I think the biggest thing that your inner child is saying is, one, to not fear lulls and times when things are less exciting, and times when you might not be feeling the best or feeling the most amazing, or for example, if you have a business, like things may be less successful during times. Like everything serves, whether we want to accept that or not. And the idea that we're constantly going to be happy, and that we should always be happy, and that life should just be good and there should never be any challenges or hardships, is a delusion of the ego, period. And so I feel like right now your inner child is making you aware of the difference between what true happiness is and what true nourishment is, versus what the ego perceives happiness to be and what the ego perceives nourishment to be. You know, our egos can really make us believe that that we're not good enough as we are to just experience the small joys of being a human. Like, the way the grass smells on a crisp fall morning, oh my God. Or the way that just a nice candle smells, or how beautiful just a simple crystal can be. Like, there's just so many things right in front of our face that can bring us a little bit of joy, and that can remind us to be grateful of what we already have. And it makes it easier to be less attached to certain outcomes and goals when we see how worthy we already are and how much we already have. We are so blessed, and we're so blessed to be connected. I'm so happy that you're here. And I think one of the most important things that you need to know is that what is meant for you will never miss you. What is meant for you will never leave you. And the less we become attached to how our success comes and what we perceive success to be, the easier it is to be grateful in all cycles, in all aspects of a cycle. So in the light times and in the challenging times. And when we do have that connection to our inner child, we can also be more honest of when things are tougher and we are in one of those times that are more challenging. So then we can seek nourishment and support during those too, and we can move through those times more swiftly, and if not more swiftly, then more carefully. Because oftentimes when we're struggling, or we're suffering, or we are dealing with challenges, we beat ourselves up on top of it and shame ourselves for being human. And it's important to remember that you are not the sun in general. And it's unrealistic to expect yourself to constantly be in one sort of state of being. Like, you're not awake all the time. Like, you literally have to sleep. So that's one thing. If you haven't been sleeping, that is the single most important thing you should be doing to nourish yourself. Sleep is so incredibly important. And a lot of forms of healing we don't need to think about, they just happen. Like, you know, when you get a cut, for example, you don't have to tell the cut how to heal. Your body is intelligent, it knows how to heal, and your body has a lot of wisdom for you if you pay attention to it, if you pay attention to the signs that it's telling you. Like, for example, oh, I'm feeling tired, maybe I should rest, instead of having that 5th coffee and pushing myself through. Because first of all, have you ever seen those studies about driving while sleep deprived is almost as, I don't know, I mean, I don't know the studies, but it's just as bad as driving while drunk. Like, when we have a clear head and when we're nourished in physical ways, mental ways, emotional ways, and consume things that feel good to us, it is so much easier to come back to the aspects of life that are more challenging or that require work and require a more serious mindset, so that we come into it not feeling like we have to push ourselves as hard. It just comes more naturally. And I think what the universe is saying is that if you're trying to push forward and reach certain goals, slowing down might actually be the key to speeding things up. And I think what Spirit is saying is that you might be biting yourself in the foot a little bit by not checking your ego when it says, no, you need to get this done now, and you need to do things this way, and you need to do things that way, or else people aren't going to like you, or you're going to fail. And that's an unrealistic way of being, and you are creating more pain for yourself than is necessary. And I feel like what your inner child is saying is that you don't need to think about how to do this. You just need to start listening to yourself. Ask your heart what it needs. Ask your body what it needs. Ask your brain what it needs. Well, I take that back. Don't ask your brain what it needs, because it's probably gonna lie to you and be like, I need you to finish this by tonight. It's just gonna be full of expectations. Stop listening to the You don't need it. I don't know why I'm making that noise, but that's what the ego kind of sounds like. You need to do this, or you're not good enough. You need to do that. No, you can't sleep. You can't sleep at all, because we need to do this. Like, yes, you can sleep. Your body was designed for sleep. It is inhumane to not let yourself sleep. Like, sleep is a necessity, and rest is a necessity. And when we rest and give ourselves what we need, then we can give our all to the things we want to dedicate ourselves to the things that we want to put energy and effort into that may not be as like fluid and easy as just being, you know what I mean? And so really your inner child is saying, please don't neglect me, because I have so much wisdom for you. And you might actually create self-fulfilling prophecies by neglecting yourself and trying to pursue a state of being that is not possible to sustain indefinitely. It is not, like, the sun is one card out of 22 major arcana cards. It's just one. It's one state of being. And when we see the light in all things that exist in our present reality and remember the small joys that bring us so much, it's a lot easier to settle into the realization that nothing that is meant for us will miss us, and that we don't have to be in such a rush to get certain things done, because they'll get done when they're meant to. And trying to push yourself forward when it doesn't feel right, or it doesn't feel good, or it just pushes you to the brink of your mental, physical, or emotional health, that's not healthy, and it's not worth it. You're worth it. Your health is worth it. Your needs are worth being met, not just the ones that make your ego feel good. And so the biggest thing to remember right now is that your own pride and your own ego are the two biggest dangers in your life right now, in terms of making you see things, making you see illusions that do not exist. And those illusions have a lot to do around the need to sacrifice yourself for success, because the universe does not want that for you. And also the need to neglect parts of yourself and uphold the ones that you think are more acceptable, or the parts of yourself that you think people or society will like the most about you. Because truth be told, the more you are authentically yourself, the more you will be drawn, and people will be drawn to you that are more compatible with you and more compatible with the true you. It takes a lot of effort and energy to try to be someone that you're not, and to try to fit in to a group or a place that doesn't really serve you or serve your true energy. And your inner child is really saying, hey, listen to me. I've got so much wisdom for you. And did you know that you're already worthy? Did you know that you're already the sun? Did you know that you're already amazing? And that anything that you achieve is just an extension of how amazing you are, but it's not your worth, and it doesn't define who you truly are. Like, the best parts of yourself are not tangible. The best parts of yourself are your integrity, your kindness, your sense of humor, the way that you make your friends feel, the way that you laugh, or the way that you light up when you talk about things that you're passionate about. You know, ask your closest friends what they love about you. And if what they love about you is anything related to what you do or what you've achieved, might be a red flag. But I promise your truest friends will love intangible things about you, like your personality, like the things that you do together, or the things that they enjoy. Just ask them. It will be very illuminating. And I think, you know, unfortunately, I can't sit down. Well, I am sitting down with you right now, but I can't sit down with each one of you individually and talk about those things. But everybody has wonderful aspects within them. And our friends and the people that we love typically see those aspects the most. So I would ask them about that, especially if you have friends that you feel like they bring out your inner child. Those are people that you want to spend time with, because that is an external way in which you can get in touch with your inner child and kind of see how easy it is. Sometimes it is easier to do it with a partner and to not do it alone. But what you must understand is that if you try to splinter yourself and have this expectation that only certain parts of you are acceptable, or the parts of you that, if you uphold the part of you that is willing to neglect and betray yourself in pursuit of a goal that your ego deems will make you worthy, then you're literally just communicating to yourself that you're not worthy. And once you reach that goal, you're gonna feel the exact same way, and you're gonna feel like that goal's not gonna be good enough, because you're gonna want to hit another one, because that goal is gonna become the new normal. And then you're gonna be like, well, I want to hit this, and I want to hit this, and I want to hit that, and then you're just gonna continue to burn yourself out, and until you wake up from the madness, you're gonna be thinking that you're never gonna be happy, when you realize that happiness and finding simple joys, you know, happiness is a fleeting state anyway. Learning to have acceptance and have peace for where we are at and find the beautiful things within our present helps us get closer to a future that we are truly happy with. And oftentimes the future that we're truly happy with doesn't look like what our ego thinks it does. And if you base your worth especially on what you see on social media and what you see in mainstream society, a lot of mainstream society is very egoic in nature, and I'm not making a judgment about that, but what I am saying is that even the people that purport to be happy oftentimes reveal themselves not to be. And well, I don't want to generalize for people, but you know, Instagram is an excellent example of that. You know what I mean? Where people just put out the parts of themselves that they think are the most perfect and the most acceptable, and I'm not blaming them, because it is society that upholds that, and we're all kind of a part of society, and then it really kind of goes into being the change you want to see. But I think that your inner child is wanting you to reassess what true joy actually is to you, and what true success actually is. Because at the end of the day, you know, at the last days of your life, you're not going to be thinking about a number that you hit or an amount of money that you earn. You can't take that money with you. You can't take that job title with you. You can't take that investment with you. When we leave this world, all we take is the love and the experiences that we had. And I feel like Spirit is really saying, you know, don't miss out on what's important, because not all that glitters is gold. And the glitter of the ego can sometimes distract us from what is truly important. And at the end of the day, all the universe wants us to know is how loved we are, and that the universe is not basing our worth on someone who is the CEO of a company, or someone who is working a service industry job. Both of them are equal. They're on the same playing field. And that's the thing in our society in general. We think that just because someone is in what we deem as a more prestigious job, that, oh, they're more worthy or something like that. Not all of us, but you know, if you've ever worked a service industry job like me, you know, you'll know that people come in and act very high and mighty and treat you like you're less than, and treat you like you're undeserving. And it is really dehumanizing. It is really unfair because the people working those jobs are just as amazing as the people working other jobs. And honestly, oh my God, I just wish I could like give every single service industry person a hug because, you know, we all just deserve to find what makes us most happy, and we're all just doing our best. And I think that you need to give yourself a pat on the back and realize that you are just doing your best. But your inner child is saying that if you keep giving in to the illusions of your ego, you'll miss out on the most important aspects of life. And life doesn't want you to wait till the end of it for you to look back and realize what was truly important. They want you to see what's important now so you don't miss a moment and look back with regret, wishing that you had spent more time doing the things that you loved. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But the biggest thing that your inner child wants you to know is that you will get to your destination sooner by being present with it and yourself, and being present with all aspects of you, not just the positive ones, but the parts of you that you may be more uncomfortable with too. Because sometimes we need time to heal before we can move forward. And also, you know, loyalty to yourself and having faith in your abilities and faith in the highs and lows and that they all serve, and faith in that your destiny was already written for you. It's just up to you to follow it and trust in it, and trust that you're always being carried, you're always being loved, and just having faith in yourself and faith in your abilities, and faith in that when you do honor yourself and give time for your needs, give time to yourself to be nourished, that you'll make far more progress in a much swifter time than you would by trying to drudge forward and force yourself to keep moving forward when you're running on empty. Even cars need to stop and get gas. You know what I mean? We all need it. We can't sit here and pretend like we're superhuman or that we're above serving our needs. Because at the end of the day, you might find yourself just getting bitter towards people that do take time to serve their needs. And I mean, not saying that everybody does, but like you might find that, or you might find that you might get frustrated at yourself or get angry at yourself. And there's no point in doing that. Have forgiveness for, you know, for the things that you've done that you may not be proud of, or have forgiveness for not knowing better, because it's only like through learning that we understand more about ourselves. And the thing is too, is that as you achieve more success, or as you just achieve more vitality and abundance, the more you can see the parts of yourself that you may be uncomfortable with and realize that they're not there to attack you. They're there to empower you and to show you where you can grow and where you can heal, so that those aspects of yourself don't linger in your subconscious and come out in unforeseen ways. And I don't know, I'm feeling channeling this is kind of messy, but I'm gonna have compassion for myself for that, because I'm human and I'm channeling something far more intelligent than myself, and they have to work with the limitations of my brain. But essentially, if I could summarize this, what your inner child wants you to know is that it loves you so much, and that if you feel like the universe is slowing you down right now, it's so that you can speed up. It's showing you what needs to be nourished so that you can move forward with a full tank of gas rather than running on empty, like I said. And to know that everything's gonna be okay, and to remember that what truly will make you happy is not always what you think it is. And if you look back at your inner child, think about what your inner child really, really wanted. And oftentimes it's not a specific thing. It's usually like qualities, like things like leadership, things like playing with friends, things like being around family, just experiencing joy. We think it's a lot easier for children to experience joy because they haven't experienced the ways of the world yet. But the thing is that we don't have to just accept the ways of the world as they are. You know, we also have the right to let go of that and just be us, you know. And I think too, if we're too plugged into what's going on all the time, we can really miss out on opportunities to just feel joy and feel nourished. So I would also pay attention to like screen time and things like that, and pay attention to what you're consuming. Because especially if you're particularly empathic, because what you consume will definitely affect your state of being. And honestly, it can be really impressive what just listening to a couple of happy songs can do to you, or just listening or consuming things that make you feel good. That can even be beneficial. You know, even if you do have a lot on your plate and you're really busy, you can still take a couple minutes to yourself to do something that you enjoy, rather than choose to engage in mindless distraction that might outrage you or make you feel frustrated or make you feel more powerless. I used to roll my eyes at the quote of like, be the change you want to see, but now I really understand that it is true. Like, sometimes we have to be that change, and when we don't see that around us, we have to seek out sources that kind of emulate the person that we want to become, or we have to ask ourselves, what would our inner child really admire? I promise you, your inner child wouldn't admire a certain title or a certain amount of dollars or a certain this or that. Your inner child would admire your integrity, the skills that you've learned, the experiences that you've had, the friends you've gained. I guess really what your inner child is saying is how much it loves you, and it wants you to love yourself too, and that you don't have to be a part of something or force yourself to do something out of the expectation that it should be done that way. And truly, you know, you're just, more than anything, you are so worthy of love and compassion towards yourself. And the more that you show yourself that through finding nourishment, finding things that you truly enjoy, and making time for that, and making time for your health to be a priority and your wellness to be a priority, the easier it is to make changes in the world and to make moves that we're truly proud of. And then when we do achieve success, we're really grateful for it, because we recognize that, you know, it's an example of it's what we've sown as a direct result of our efforts. And we can kind of let go of it as well, knowing that that success doesn't necessarily define us. It's just a result of what we've done, and that's really wonderful, and we can bask in that and enjoy that, but also let go of it in the sense of knowing that everything has highs and lows, everything fluctuates, and nothing is ever the same. The only constant is change, and the more we can accept that change and find balance within those changes, the easier it can be to appreciate the moment for what it is and flow with how things go. Okay, so I am going to get some channeled messages from your inner child now and see what else it wants to say to you. Okay, so Pile 3's inner child, what do you want Pile 3 to know at this time? You are gifted with the power of healing, both on a level of self and others. Step into the light and work with the energy to benefit yourself and to serve others. The light is within you and all around you. Yes. So this is definitely reaffirming what I was already saying. You know, I feel like this sun card really just confirms that you do have this, this card confirms that you do have that light within you and around you. And sometimes it can just be about looking at what we already have that is so beautiful and that we can be grateful for, that is really helpful. But this card came out in another pile, and I feel really called to say that, I don't even know if I said it in this pile, but getting attuned to Reiki would be my biggest suggestion to you, because it's a form of energy healing, and it's once you're attuned to it, you can do it on yourself. And I will just say from personal experience, that alone has been so helpful for me and helped me feel like I have like a power and a role in my healing. So definitely look into Reiki and getting attuned. I think it will really, really benefit you. But okay, what else? Spirit. This came out in another pile too. Your heart is wanting you to step into a state of forgiveness for yourself or of others. You may be holding on to pain, bitterness, or a trauma in a way that is stagnating your heart's flow. Forgive and let go of the past. And I feel like one important thing to say is that forgiveness really starts with yourself. And if you're not ready to forgive someone or something, you don't have to. Don't force something that doesn't feel natural. That's going against the flow and going against expectations. And with that being said, if anything that I says doesn't resonate with you or doesn't feel right with you, you don't have to listen to it because I said it. You know, don't hold my words over true knowing of your being. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, what I'm channeling is just information. You do with it what you will. And information is only important if it has use to you. So if something doesn't resonate with you or it doesn't feel right to you, don't hold on to it. I feel like a lot of this is about recognizing your inner authority and recognizing that while we can't control what happens around us, we do control how we respond to it. And awareness is the first step to making changes that are more aligned with us. So there's no purpose in beating yourself up for what was or your past, but you can control now in terms of how you respond to now and how you treat yourself. And beating yourself up for things in the past or for things that you wish you could change is not going to help you in the slightest. It's just going to add to unnecessary suffering in your case. And I think one of the most empowering things we can do is recognize how our choices and how we talk to ourselves can create more unnecessary suffering. You know, when we enter states that are challenging or we're in a more difficult time period, beating ourselves up about it is not going to serve anything. Sometimes the most empowering thing we can do is just accept where we're at and say, okay, so I am running on empty right now. I'm not feeling good. I don't need to beat myself up for being here. I need to have compassion for the fact that I've been working really hard, or that I've been, really moving forward even when I haven't had it. And that just goes to show, how incredible and how resilient you are. But you're going to be far more effective when you're able to take time for yourself and relax and rest and just let go of that, because so much of us are holding on to our past and making stories about it that may or may not be true, but they can and will create more, they can create more suffering if we're not careful about how we look at it. And you're entitled to look at it however you want to look at it. The point of what I'm trying to say is that don't force yourself to do something that doesn't feel right, but also don't keep yourself stuck in a state because you feel like you're undeserving of good things, or that you're still stuck in the egoic delusion that you have to be a certain way or operate in a certain way to be worthy. You were born the exact way you needed to fulfill your divine destiny. And your divine destiny may not be something that is in line with the mainstream, and it may not be something that everybody understands. But when you live a life that you love and live a life aligned in love, you realize how many people are still just living from a place of fear and trying to control things. And you can have compassion for that eventually, if you want to, rather than feeling like the way other people live and their state of being has to be the way that you do it too, I'm going to leave it there. All right, what else? What else does pile 3's inner child want to say to pile 3? Yeah. Let go of whatever you've been holding on to so tightly out of fear of losing it. That's what I said. Know that whatever is yours will have a way of being in your life without needing to force it. Finally let go and feel that weight lifted off of you. And that's the thing, sometimes we hold on to things without realizing that holding on to it is creating more stress than is necessary. And sometimes, for example, if you're a freelancer, if you're trying to write something and you're beating yourself up for having writer's block and you're trying, maybe the best thing that you can do is just take a break. Maybe try clearly what you're doing isn't working, and beating yourself up won't help. So, letting go of that and saying, okay, clearly it's not serving me right now. Let me just be open to solutions. Essentially, don't spend all your time thinking about what's going wrong and what you're not doing right, because you're not allowing space for solutions to come, and you're not allowing space to be kind to yourself. And kindness to ourselves can be one of the most important and empowering things that we can do to change our state of being and change how we see ourselves in the world. Compassion really is key. And I want to read you the back of the deck because it says, you may not be able to see beyond a current point right now, like a dense fog clouding your view. Remember that sometimes rejection is divine protection. Spirit knows best. Don't try to pry into something that you're just not meant to know. And I think that's the thing too. We can try and insert ourselves in places that are unnecessary and also create more unnecessary stress. So just trust in yourself, trust in what is, and trust in your inner wisdom, because you have more than you realize. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this message off with a message from Mother Mary. I feel like exploring the Divine Mother's energy, it doesn't have to be in the form of Mother Mary. There's so many forms of the Divine Mother's energy, like in Kuan Yin, Kali Ma, Lady Isis, and many others than the ones I've just listed. But understanding divine feminine energy and the nature of it can help you use your masculine energy in a divine way as well. But also just, even though we are adults, sometimes we just need to be held and feel good and know that, you know, everything is okay and that we're being held and nurtured. And often if we didn't get that growing up, we don't realize, or even if we did get that growing up, we don't realize that even though we're not physically children anymore, doesn't mean that our inner child goes anywhere. All adults are just children in big bodies, and I think the most unhappy ones are the ones that have zero connection to their inner child and believe that, you know, life is only suffering and life, I don't know, I don't want to get lost in another tangent, but the point of the matter is that we can't choose the majority of what happens to us in life, but we can choose how we respond to it, and being mean to ourselves about it or blaming ourselves for things can just add to unnecessary suffering. When life is already challenging enough, we might as well be kind to ourselves and, you know, support ourselves through the process of navigating this weird world. So, Mother Mary, what message do you have for pile 3 that could be most beneficial for them? Okay, we have Our Lady Who Prevents Interference, which I'm actually going to move this over here because I'm going to read it, and my reading it's going to cover it up if I'm not careful. Okay, so let's see. Your inner light is growing, my beloved, and through you, you are attracting many who can be nourished by you. As the love in you blossoms, there are others who are captured in fear, who may feel threatened by you and wish to obstruct your growth. I am your salvation and protection, for my love is greater than any fear. Place your loving trust in me. You shall not be harmed, nor shall you be swayed from your inevitable spiritual success on my path of love. I prevent spiritual sabotage from succeeding. The success on your path through me is the triumph of spiritual freedom. One of the paradoxes of the manifest world is that whilst creation flows from one divine source of love, at the physical level of expression, this does not always appear to be true. In the physical world, where the frequency of energy slows to such a point that matter can appear to be real, there is an outward appearance of good and evil, of love and fear. Polarities or opposites appear in this reality, and we now have the sometimes challenging tasks of dealing with the physical reality, with its love and fear, whilst also remembering that underneath this reality, sometimes hidden, though always there, is only divinity. The one divine intelligence behind all of life, the one divine intelligence is behind all of life. There is a spiritual teaching that this is like a beam of light that flows through a movie projector. The light shines through film, and images are projected onto a blank screen. Stories come to life as motion pictures. They play out on the big screen before us. Sometimes the movies will be love stories, sometimes horror films. At other times, they will be adventures or coming-of-age stories. These films are like our various life stories, played out during the course of our lifetime. No matter what the film may appear to be or how it affects us, the light in the projector is always the same. No matter whether our life story is currently a romance or a great tragedy, there is one divine light bringing it to life for us. That story will change over our lifetime, perhaps, but the light is always the same. There are many on the spiritual path who find notion that there is anything other than love very difficult to deal with. This is perhaps because they understand that the light in the projector is what animates every film, and that is divine. However, the divine is all. That means not only the pure light, but also the stories that are played out, in which human beings are the actors. We can remember that the light behind the form is real divinity, but we can also learn to accept that the life playing out is a divine creation too. And we are meant to be loving, living, and growing through that divine manifestation. Part of that life experience is that there is love, but also fear. There is much support on the divine path, but there are also those people and forces that would prefer that you didn't succeed in love, because then their power, claimed through fear, would remain intact. These are very real forces, but we do not need to be afraid of them. We only need to recognize that they exist, and that the Divine Mother protects and guides her children on the path of love to fulfill their divine destiny. Her loving will be stronger than any interference or ill-wishing. She has absolute compassion for such attempts at interference, understanding that it often comes through unresolved pain, but she does not indulge it and will absolutely defend against any obstructions to the triumph of love. This oracle brings you a message from the divine. One role that you are playing in the various films of life includes the role of a spiritual being who is here to help yourself and others through your divine awakening. You are the holy child of the Holy Mother, and together you are bringing her path of love to fruition, perhaps so that there can be less horror movies and more great romances. For now, however, the horror movies are a part of Earth's great cosmic screenplay, and we need to deal with them too. Ignoring them and focusing on the beam of light is not going to help us change the screenplays that create the films. Through awareness, we can become more intelligent. We can actively seek the divine protection that is reaching to us through Our Lady, and we will not be so affected by any negativity around us. Then we can shine our light and use our contagious divine love to help others also let go of negativity. Love flowing through a being that is sure of his or her divine protection is a powerful force. No wonder those forces that want fear to dominate actively seek to interfere with our spiritual growth. Fortunately, for those of us on the divine path of love, remembering to pray daily is enough for us to be brought under the Divine Mother's holy protection. Even if you pray for just several seconds to ask the holy ones who love us unconditionally to be with us and protect and assist us this day, you will be under their protection. And by the way, you don't have to believe in it or not. You can just do it anyway. You can just pray, hey, to the beings that love me unconditionally, can you please protect me? Even if you don't believe it, they will anyway. They don't care whether you believe in them or not. They love you, period. From this place of love and spiritual protection, the forces of fear cannot undermine our inner spiritual connection. We can prevent ourselves from being triggered through our fear impulses and avoid directing our energy away from divine trust. Interference with our well-being, finances, life path, happiness, relationships, or any other part of our life can be prevented. There is no need for fear here, just understanding and intelligent use of the power of protection that is available to us. Simple, effective, and healing, the following process will assist you in accessing that now, each and every day. The Divine Mother has brought this oracle to you because she wishes for you to come even more deeply into her protective field of love and thrive, which I think is so beautiful and so accurate, and everything that I was trying to say just more eloquently put. But I'm going to show you guys this healing process now, and then if you wish to use it, feel free. I would take screenshots of it and then do it in your own time. But pile 3, that is where I'm going to leave your reading. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background while you do something else, like maybe nourish yourself or do a mini meditation. That means so much to me, and it helps me so much and supports me more than you realize. But if you'd like to support me in other ways, you can like this video, you can comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already and click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can also check out my merch and my social media, though do be aware I have tons of scammers pretending to be me. So just know that I do not offer personal readings, and I will not slide in your DMs offering you a personal reading. That is a scammer, not me. Also beware, they're in the comment section as well. I'd like to give a big thank you to James R. Eads and the Green Glyphs collection for making the Green Glyphs collection and allowing me to use it in this reading. If you're interested in that will be linked down below. But that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye!